The South Korean government today released a large number of political prisoners as part of an agreement on major reforms. The action comes after a series of violent protests for democratic reforms. Today, there was another clash with police as 1,000 students demonstrated during a memorial service for a student who died last month during rioting. Brian Jenkins has the details.
The prisoners came out to the cheers of their compatriots in the political opposition. They were the first of nearly 500 people the government plans to release this week under the program of political reforms approved last week by South Korean President Chun Doo-hwan. Among the first batch of detainees to be freed was the vice president of the main opposition party and 11 other leading members of the National Coalition for a Democratic Constitution. They had organized the first of the street protests last month, which forced the government to offer its stunning concessions. The dissidents were escorted off the prison grounds by the co-leaders of the main opposition, Kim Dae-jung and Kim Young-sam. They have vowed not to negotiate on a new constitution until the government frees some 3,000 political prisoners jailed since 1972. But the Chun regime has indicated it will limit the release to those arrested more recently. And prosecutors say they will deal harshly with any dissidents who stage mass demonstrations in the days ahead. At a college campus in Seoul, several thousand students marched for the second day in a row to honor a fallen classmate. Lee Han-yeol was struck in the head last month by an exploding tear gas canister and died Sunday after 27 days in a coma. Once again, students got into a shoving match with riot police who blocked their path. A group of mothers intervened, but tempers flared again, and the police finally let fly with their usual dose of skin-burning gas. Students say they will keep up the protests until Lee's funeral, now set for Thursday in his home city of Gwangju. Leaders of the opposition called the dead student a martyr in the struggle for democracy and said they hoped his death would be the last. Brian Jenkins, CNN, Seoul.
The key figure in the Iran arms affair, Colonel Oliver North, goes public tomorrow. Congressional investigators will ask the former White House aide whether President Reagan knew about the diversion of Iran arms sale money to Nicaraguan rebels. Further details in this report from John Dancy.
Oliver North will, at long last, sit here, looking slightly upward at the 26 members of the committee. When he stands to take the oath, 29 remotely controlled still cameras will record the scene, as will every television network in America. North's 4 days of testimony should be a climactic moment when the committee begins getting answers to some of the key questions. Did President Reagan order the diversion of profits from the Iran arms sale to the Contras? If not, who did? Or was North operating alone?
Even now, more than 7 months after the story broke, Oliver North is still something of a mystery to the committees. His only testimony under oath, a 25-minute session that was carefully limited to what he may or may not have told the president. The picture so far has been painted by others. Robert Owen told of North dispensing traveler's checks from a safe in his office. Fawn Hall of North shredding documents as the Iran-Contra diversion became public. Charles Cooper of North concocting a false story for CIA Director William Casey to tell Congress. Glenn Robinette of North accepting phony bills and sending phony letters to cover up the gift of a home security system. All of this has tarnished North's image among even the most ardent supporters of the Reagan administration and its Contra policy. Ohio's Michael DeWine says he is maintaining an open mind, but says flatly that North lied to cover up the diversion of funds to the Contras.
I think Oliver North is a very complex individual. I think it's very clear he is an extremely patriotic individual. I think it's also very clear that he made mistakes.
Florida's Bill McCollum, a supporter of the Contras, who now sees North as tarnished.
Well, I think we always think of heroes as being there on the stand and staying there ever, and if you're going to be a true hero in history, you have an unblemished record.
Orrin Hatch of Utah on North's cover-up of a gift of a security system.
I think phony letters are improper. I think phony invoices are improper. I think participating in something like that is improper. Whether it's illegal or not remains to be seen.
Meanwhile, North's wife, Betsy, has told Life magazine her husband is not bitter. He's hopeful he can get the real story across. His motives are pure.
But the problem North will face tomorrow is this. These hearings are not about his motives. They're about his actions and who ordered them. John Dansley, NBC News at the U.S. Capitol.
Now to today's stock market activities. Prices on the New York Stock Exchange were mixed in trading of 155 million shares. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 7 points to 2,429.53. Prices on the Toronto Stock Exchange advanced in trading of 23 million shares. The TSE Index jumped 28 points to close at 3,836.53. Prices on the Vancouver Stock Exchange were mixed in moderate trading. The stock index fell 3 points to 1,859.1. Gold prices traded within a narrow range, with an ounce of gold in New York closing at $444 U.S. Silver prices firmed, with an ounce of silver closing at $7.50 U.S. And the Canadian dollar firmed in terms of U.S. funds, ending the day at 75.46 cents U.S. And now to the wonderful world of pets, and an unusual canine who performs daily to the delight of children and adults alike. He's a water sliding wonder at Detroit Lakes.
Take a good look at this.
He grew up here at the slide, and I guess he just saw the kids were having so much fun that he decided he'd try it himself, I guess. Boy, I think he'd go all day, to tell you the truth. If we didn't stop him, I think he would go all day. He just loves it.
Meet Rambo. He's the pride and joy of water slide owner Scott Curie. Rambo is a 2-year-old brown Labrador retriever, and he's in heaven whenever Scott lets him make the trip down the winding slide. One night, one of the kids took up a rubber ball and thought it'd be fun and see if he'd chase it, because he was learning to fetch when he was just a puppy, and he grew up here, so. And then he just seemed to follow it down, and then after that, I guess he decided he liked it and went from there. Customers love Rambo. In fact, Scott has set up a gumball machine stocked with dog treats, and the kids flock to feed their friend. Rambo's become so popular around here that they've printed a T-shirt bearing his image, and they sell quite a few. But that's of little importance to the daring dog. What counts is one more crack at navigating the twists and turns of the 40-foot-high slide. From Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, I'm Rob Kelly for NBC News.
Right on there. That looks like they talk about the dog days of summer, are they?
Oh, hey, yeah.
I don't know.
You think about that one for a while?
Nice to see you here in the evening.
It is a change.
Yeah.
I got a little wet on my way here because of the storm that passed by.
Yeah, and it was a very interesting thing with the storm, Brian. It didn't, other than the showers and maybe a bit of a light show for the entire city, the most heavily affected part was the southern part of Winnipeg, Fort Garry, and St. Vital. Of course, we were off the air there for a while, and you were mentioning earlier some damage. I talked to Environment Canada. They don't want to say tornado, but certainly confirming funnel cloud sightings, that kind of thing, because just a heavy wind wouldn't do the kind of damage that it did in South Winnipeg.
Certainly as close as you'd want to get to one.
Yeah, as you won't want to get beside one at all, would you? Really, when you think about it.
No, or in front of it or behind it.
Exactly, and we'll have more details on the weather coming up right after this. Nice to see you, by the way. Real treat.
Yeah.
Alki, what's going on?
Guten. Are you all right?
Hi.
What Perfect Strangers, Wednesdays at 7 on CKND.
That's a good show, that Perfect Strangers deal. Hi, everybody. Nice to be with you on this Monday, fresh off a weekend. A wild night weather-wise. I was mentioning to Brian Swain a couple of things. I called Environment Canada, talked to the fellas over there. There was really no hail reported throughout this entire disturbance that made its way through Winnipeg. There was a gal who phoned Environment Canada. She said that she spotted some hail near Waverly Heights, about the size of small peas, and it lasted very, very short period of time, so no real hail. Funnel cloud sightings, of course, that Brian has mentioned during the news. The storm center right now is into northwestern Ontario, just approaching Kenora, so that has still not affected the severe weather watch that's issued for most of southern Manitoba, including Dauphin, Brandon, Bissett, Red River, Whiteshell, Kenora regions, including Winnipeg and Brandon cities proper. That watch will be in effect until 2 a.m. this morning. The weather warning, however, for the area extending within 50 kilometers of Elma, that has been ended, so that gets you up to date on the watch and warning situation. Here's a look at the current conditions across the city right now. The shower is still coming down. It's going to be an unstable, unsettled situation for the next 12 hours. Probably no more light shows, as it were, no more thunder activity or lightning, but we will get the showers as that unstable air moves through the south and the central regions of Manitoba. Wind currently out of the east-northeast at 30, and we're currently sitting at 20 Celsius at 68 degrees Fahrenheit.